One, no, three. That's you, Bella. Talking
Oh, I can hear myself. Oh.
Is it, how loud are you?
Yeah, quite very loud. Yeah, that's good. Can hear myself.
Okay.
Love the sound of my own voice.
Well, that'll do. And then, Ryan, you talking to that?
Hi.
Yeah, you've got to make sure that you are in front of that.
So loud and clear.
Yeah. Look at that. Make sure that when we start at 3, hello, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Good afternoon. It's 3 o'clock, and I'm Annabelle Farmer.
And I'm Ryan Denton, and you're listening to Leeds Hacks Radio News.
Today's stories include the energy plan announced by the Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng,
A new rule in force which could see taxi drivers lose their job.
and a local primary school giving out free breakfast to pupils.
I think everyone needs help with the cost of living crisis at the moment.
Yes, I agree, but for that, our main headline. 2 youths in Huddersfield have been charged with the murder of 15-year-old Kari McLean. They are appearing at Leeds Magistrate Court today after stabbing him to death on Wednesday. Ryan Denton reports.
2 young men have been charged with the murder of 15-year-old Kari McLean outside a school in Huddersfield. The duo are scheduled to appear at Leeds Magistrates Court today after being charged with the murder that happened on Wednesday. Kari was a pupil at the school in question, North Huddersfield Trust School, and his death has left many people shocked.
Yeah, it's awful. It really is. It's like I've known Kyrie since we were young. Went primary school or high school with him, and yeah, it's just awful. It's just gut wrenching. Something needs to change because people, like the parents, are sending the kids to school in the morning, and they're not coming back home for the teas or all like that because of stupid stuff like this, and it needs to change.
The attack is one of many to have happened recently in and around the Huddersfield area. Only on Saturday was there another assault by a youth in Dalton, with a man taken to hospital with serious leg injuries, and a few weeks ago in Deaton a man had his hand chopped off.
It's not something you expect when you go into high school every day. You don't expect to see a stabbing, you don't expect to see someone getting jumped as soon as you come out. And another one in Huddersfield, it's just a guy getting his hand chopped off and stuff like that. It's just getting quite bad, but it's not students all out, it's people 15, 16 that are doing it, and it's just stupid.
I've noticed a lot of my friends have stopped going out in Huddersfield because they just don't feel safe, because it's obviously gotten bad. I think it's getting worse with how young people are also getting involved in the crime. The recent one in Huddersfield, if anything, I think it's just getting sad.
These recent offences all point towards a serious growing problem with knife crime and young offenders around Huddersfield. I'm Ryan Denton reporting for Leeds Axe News.
It's absolutely shocking what's happening in Huddersfield.
Our deepest sympathies go to the family and friends involved.
Our next story is about Leeds City Council. A new rule in force could see taxi drivers lose their job if they get 9 penalty points.
This is different for the general public as they lose their licence with 12 points.
Taxi drivers across Leeds are not happy with the possibility of these new rules. Antonia Fairburn has the story. All fired up and ready for work, one of Leeds' taxi drivers, but his destination is unclear after strict new rules were introduced. Gilan Dayo Sadiq is a cabby. He's unimpressed.
It's not fair because sometimes this is happens. Sometimes the police give the point for small mistakes. Like one of my friends, just he want to turn the car, he moved the car to no entry, just about 1 meter. Want to spend the car, please give him 3 points.
The council passed the measure to strip cabbies of the licence if they reach 9 penalty points. It means if they commit some minor motoring offences, they could lose their livelihood. The current threshold is 12 points. Councillor Deborah Cooper told the councillors it's to make taxi drivers more careful and passengers safer.
The reason that the council are, as a licensing authority, have had to look at this is due to the guidance, the statutory guidance given by the government. It would further bring us in line with other authorities in West Yorkshire who have already adopted that policy in full.
There was an angry exchange between the Labour group leader, Councillor James Lewis, and Conservative group leader, Andrew Carter.
Just to correct your history lesson, Councillor Lewis, your consultation failed miserably. And from then on, people have asked questions.
No, Councillor Carter, in 2019, you voted to implement the policy. Right, shall we move on to the next item, please?
Feelings were mixed against the general public.
Should be the same for everybody, shouldn't it? Should be 12. If it is 12, it should be, yeah.
The council's decision could still be blocked if it is reviewed by a council scrutiny committee.
Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng announced a new energy plan as part of the mini-budget on Friday, which will help millions of households with their bills over the coming months.
Bethan Khan has more.
Even the cost of boiling a kettle this winter is going to cause a strain for many households due to soaring energy bills. But is there finally some light at the end of a dark tunnel? During the announcement of the mini-budget on Friday, Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng outlined a plan to help households pay for their soaring energy prices. It is expected a typical household energy bill over the next 2 years will be £2,500, with an average saving of £1,000.
We're taking 3 steps to support families and businesses with the cost of energy. To help households, the energy price guarantee will limit the unit price that consumers pay for electricity and gas. We are continuing our existing plans to give all households £400 off bills this winter.
Although this will relieve some families, single dad Hafi Faisal is still worried about the pinch it will cause.
I'm really worried about the cost of energy bills at the moment. It's hard to potentially choose between having the heating on or having a hot shower every day. It's not something I had ever thought I'd be choosing between. The government packages will help in the short run, but I think it will come back to haunt me eventually. I worry about how it will affect my kids in the future, but at least for now, I can still put the food on the table.
Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves slammed the energy package, saying Kwarteng was borrowing money to fund the energy crisis, leaving future generations to pick up the pieces. I spoke to 2 pensioners to hear their view on the government's new plan.
I think they're doing all they can, aren't they, at the moment? I think so. It seems what I read on, what I see on television, they seem to be helping all those families of, say, 3 or 4. But are they?
But they're helping older ones because
They are helping us all.
I got a phone call yesterday from Joyce,
Right.
and she got something about £400.
Yeah, I don't
She's
know
got a
what.
notice to say that it's going to go into a bank. So I hope my letter's there when I get back.
Inflation in the UK is at an all-time high, rising at the fastest rate for 40 years.
The current cost of living crisis has meant that the hospitality industry in Leeds has been hit hard.
Isabel Holden reports.
The confidence of hospitality leaders in Leeds is declining after costs have soared for both businesses and consumers. Ellie Sadler, senior bar assistant at a Leeds City bar, spoke of her concerns.
Not only is it affecting people's disposable income, it's affecting the business itself. So, cutting down on hours, and this is all leading from not enough customers coming in. As well, with high prices, it's pushing people off anyway, not coming in. But because going out for a drink and going out for food is a luxury, not a necessity, people are put off coming in. People just can't afford it. And it's meaning us as a business, we can't move forward with this. We can't expand. It's just put a halt on everything.
The current cost of living crisis has meant that outgoing costs for many have increased significantly, and some have been forced to reduce spending elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm not going out as much anymore because it's so expensive. Like 15 quid for a drink on like Corley and stuff is like impossible to keep up when you're only earning like £10 an hour. So
However, despite the squeeze felt by some, Will Carr, bar supervisor at Salon Privé in Leeds, felt confident that the business isn't feeling the same strain felt by others in the city.
I think the Dakota is one of those lucky sort of businesses where, we do cater to a slightly more affluent market. So it means that, the people that are getting hit the hardest with the cost of living crisis aren't the types to potentially come to Dakota anyway, unless it's for a really special occasion. So I don't think you'll see it much with Dakota. There's also a lot of, there's a lot of business sort of people staying in the hotel and dining and drinking with us. A lot of that's expensed out to larger companies who, sort of have the, flush with cash to be able to do things like that. So I don't think it'll affect Dakota as much as it will sort of regular bars and restaurants, really.
This is the second crisis to hit business in recent years, following the coronavirus pandemic in 2020. It's unclear what the future holds for the hospitality sector, but leaders remain hopeful that things will improve soon. I'm Isabel Holden reporting for Leeds Tax News.
A local primary school in Leeds has set up a free breakfast scheme supplying bagels to their pupils before the school day begins. Bella Farmer reports.
A local primary school in Leeds set up a scheme to prevent their pupils from going hungry during the UK's cost of living crisis. Morley Newlands Academy is currently spending £6,000 a month to supply the children with bagels each morning to ensure they are fed and ready to start the day. Head teacher Matthew Fitzpatrick says it's crucial for the children's well-being and education.
It's often a top-up for what they already get at home. Most families are, are able to provide breakfast at home for the part of their daily routine. But for some families, it's their breakfast they get is their main kind of bit of sustenance in the morning. Either because it's we're helping out families who maybe can't afford to provide breakfast as well as we can, but also I think with some families it's actually now timing to leave the house, so rather than making cereal and toast at home, they can buy in that time to sort of get ready and think, well, you can have something once you get to school, as it were.
As the cost of living crisis rises, recent research suggests around a third of the children in Leeds are now living in poverty, with around 54,000 babies and children thought to be affected as their families struggle to afford to put food on the table. The primary school scheme has helped many struggling parents in the community.
Oh, it's wonderful, actually. It's such a relief. It really, really helps with our budget because we're really struggling with all the bills going up. I'm finding it really, really difficult just to give them something healthy to have. So the fact that this school, I can drop them off at school and I know that they're getting a really good breakfast, it just means everything.
Following on from that story, food banks in Leeds have opened their arms to students as the cost of living crisis continues.
A recent Save the Students survey has suggested that 1 in 10 students used food banks last year. Juno Pratt has more.
Newcastle University Student Union has recently revealed their plans to open food banks for students to support them during the cost of living crisis. This comes after surveys were published by both the National Union of Students and Save the Student, a financial advice website. According to Save the Student, 1 in 10 students used food banks in the last year, which is no surprise considering 82% of students are concerned about their finances. The National Union of Students report suggests that as many as 96% of students have had to reduce their spending to match inflationary prices. With student loans covering only 53% of average living costs, students may become more reliant on food banks as the crisis continues. Heat community cafes, run by the Kirkstall Valley Development Trust, have extended their invitation to students struggling with their finances. Adele Ray is the executive director for the trust and has been working with local resources and Leeds City Council to provide food and shelter to local residents.
So we've cooked up a plan, so to speak, of starting some community cafes where people can come and keep warm and get fed for nothing, in the hope of supporting people who don't have enough.
Vegetables handed out by the Heat Cafes are grown locally at Kirkstall Valley Farm, a volunteer-run community farm in the heart of Kirkstall. Paul Heap, a volunteer who oversees construction at the farm, runs a volunteer session from 10 to 12 every Saturday morning.
Yeah, I mean, I work full time, but I've run a session every Saturday. But it's not work coming down here. Even though we do a lot of work, it's not work. It's just, I just love it.
Many students and parents have also called upon universities to act to ensure students don't starve this Christmas, as 74% of students believe that the government isn't doing enough to support them.
Absolutely, I think universities have got an obligation and a duty of care to their students.
As prices rise, wages and bursaries remain the same, and students around the country fear for the future of their finances. Juno Pratt reporting for Leeds Axe News.
University students have been enjoying Freshers Week as the start of term begins, but in Leeds, an alternative Freshers Fair has been taking place.
It's been hosted by the Key Club and brings together a host of independent businesses.
Sapphire Anastasia reports.
Around a dozen business people gathered at the Key Club at the side of the Merrion Centre, and they were joined by scores of students.
It's actually been really good. It's the first that I've seen been put on in Leeds. Like, I've been with the alternative scene for a few years now, and nowhere in Freshers has really acknowledged it. And now the Key Club have gone and put on their own thing, and it's just really nice to see. Like, I see a lot of Freshers events, and I'm like, that's not really my thing. It makes me feel included.
This is an alternative Freshers Fair where a number of independent businesses and organisations promoted themselves. Among those was Mad Millennials, a mental health non-profit organisation. Here's employee Kimberly Marshall with more information.
There's two parts of it. So there's Mad Millennials, which is a non-profit organisation which is focusing on supporting millennials and other generations that have grown up with social media and technology, and just kind of giving them some more support, because obviously the waiting lists for the NHS and stuff like that are so long at the moment, and it's so underfunded, and then to go private is quite expensive. So we're just trying to be real about mental health and support people on that level, but also open up the conversations and delve a little bit deeper to kind of normalise it.
The event was organised by the Key Club to offer students a different experience as they transition to university life. Sav Boskill was the brainchild behind the scheme.
It's mainly about promoting ourselves, what we stand for, what we do, and other local businesses that we believe also suit the audience, and kind of working hand in hand with those guys. I've done an alternative Freshers Fair before in 2019, and then obviously COVID hit, and everyone was kind of out of the loop for a long time, and Freshers in general, I think, was very up in the air in terms of, like, obviously that massive historical event that happened to the world, and trying to get back into the swing of things.
It was the first time the event has been held since 2019, before the pandemic. but they are vowing to be back again next year.
It's currently 13 degrees Celsius with a slight breeze.
It definitely feels colder now.
Nearly time to sing Christmas songs, Ryan. I know how much you love them.
Not this again. Anyway, it's 16 minutes past 3. You've been listening to Leeds Hacks Radio News. I'm Ryan Denton.
And I'm Annabelle Farmer. We hope you have a wonderful day.
making your life brighter.
Yeah.
This is your fader. Okay. So you don't touch anything.
Thank God for that.
Okay. You just have to move this.
Do I have to manage both of them?
You've got to click. You play all the stuff in from your end. Okay.
Right.
That stays up. Testing 1, 3, 4. Low. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
It looks like he's taking decisions in the dark and not really properly taking into account the impact on the economy and on public finances. And all of that is unnerving financial markets, pushing up longer term interest rates and also sending the pound down.
This is on.
Yeah,
Right.
that's on,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we figured it out. We're gonna start again. Yeah, we've just figured it out now. We're gonna start again. Oopsies. Sorry, Connor. At least you got a warm up. Okay, go. Good afternoon and welcome to Leeds Hacks. I'm Ray Rocher.
And I'm Connor Briggs. Today's top stories. Enough is enough. Families in Birstall say their crime wave must stop.
And cleaning the air, the driver's forced to pay to drive in a city centre. All that and more, but first, a round of the day's news.
2 boys have appeared at Leeds magistrates today, charged with the murder of Kyrie McLean. The 15-year-old was stabbed outside North Huddersfield Trust School on Wednesday. The boys, aged 15 and 16, who cannot be named for legal reasons, were remanded in custody to appear at Leeds Crown Court on Wednesday. There's speculation the Bank of England might need to take emergency action after sterling hit a record low against the US dollar overnight. It's recovered a little since, but the main share index has struggled. Former Bank of England policymaker Andrew Sentence says investors are worried about the scale of the Chancellor's borrowing and tax cuts.
It looks like he's taking decisions in the dark and not really properly taking into account the impact on the economy and on public finances. And all of that is unnerving financial markets, pushing up longer term interest rates and also sending the pound down.
The Shadow Chancellor says the current decisions on the economy being taken in Downing Street weren't voted on by anyone. Rachel Reeves has used her speech at the Labour conference to savage the government for the fallout from the tax-cutting mini-budget. But she also talked about other issues, including what she wants to do if Labour wins the next election, revealing one of her top priorities.
On day one as Chancellor, I will write to the Low Pay Commission with a simple instruction. that the minimum wage will be set at a level that reflects the real cost of living.
Police in Manchester have increased patrols around mosques and Islamic centres following what they call incidents and disturbances in the city centre. In one case, there was graffiti referring to Iran, where a woman died after being arrested over the way she was wearing her headscarf. At least 13 people, including 5 children, have been killed during a shooting at a school in the Russian city of Izhevsk. The state-owned news agency, TASS, says a gunman wearing a balaclava opened fire with 2 pistols. The body of the suspect was found later at the scene. The motives unclear.
Doncaster Sheffield Airport is going to close next month. Bosses say the business is no longer viable and there have been no proposals from potential owners about running operations. The airport will start winding down services from the 31st of October.
Former Leeds Rhinos star Kevin Sinfield is planning to run more than 300 miles in 1 week to raise money for motor neuron disease research. He aims to run 7 ultramarathons in 7 days, starting in Edinburgh and ending at the Rugby League World Cup final at Old Trafford in Manchester. Sinfield, who ran 101 miles in 24 hours in 2021, was a teammate of Rob Burrow, who was diagnosed with MND in 2019. The money raised will go towards the new £5 million Rob Burrow Motor Neuron Disease Care Centre in Leeds. Birstall, a town in West Yorkshire, is currently seeing calls for police and council to do more, following incidents of crime appearing more common. One person in particular who wants more to be done is Dean Warsnop, whose butcher shop was broken into during the early hours of Friday morning. Connor has more.
Birstall, a village on the outskirts of Leeds, has been appearing in the news recently, following incidents being reported around their historic mill town. In the latest hit to the community, a butcher, Dean Warsnop, had his shop broken into and charity money stolen. This is what Dean had to say.
Early hours of Friday morning, 3 lads, and I know there were 3 lads because they have been caught on CCTV, got their arms in a small window, which opened a big window and went inside shop and stole a bit of cash and charity boxes. Children's charity, you know what I mean? That just shows the morals of these people. But from a secure point of view, I do think more could be done. Now, every time I've been burgled, there's a camera smack bang opposite my shop, and it's always facing the opposite way, every single time. Why is it not trained on the shops?
Have you got a message to the council?
Do more.
Councillor Mark Thompson stated the following on Birstall's crime rate.
I don't think it's any better or worse than the national average statistics. So burglaries, well, it has increased slightly, but always does during the summer months, during school holidays, etc. But it's no more than national average now.
With all this said, how safe do Birstall residents feel?
How do you feel about Birstall right now?
Not great. It's getting worse. Police need to step up a bit. It's not feeling safe at all, to be honest.
I'm absolutely fed up with all crime in Birstall. It's awful, feeling safe.
Not great. It's getting worse. Police need to step up a bit. It's not feeling safe at all, to be honest.
I've heard a lot of things about Birstall being unsafe, but I've personally never seen it, so I just feel safe.
When I were at church last Sunday, some men in balaclava ran in with a needle and they were threatening to stab anyone, and they just ran off with the donations. They all the balaclavas on, so it's currently unsolved. But I usually go to Birstall shopping park and it feels quite safe there.
Watford have sacked head coach Rob Edwards after just 4 months in charge and replaced him with former West Ham boss Slaven Bilic. The Championship side have won just 3 of their last 10 games this season. Bilic has become the club's 5th manager in less than a year after signing an 18-month contract. Ivan Toney could make his England debut tonight when the side take on Germany in the Nations League. The Brentford forward has been included in the matchday squad for tonight's clash at Wembley. Boss Gareth Southgate says Toney's performance won't determine whether he selects him for the World Cup.
Whatever happens, this has been a useful exercise for him and for us. I understand the push because we're so close to a World Cup, but also there is life for Ivan Toney beyond the World Cup as well. And, he's very much in the frame. What he does with his club between now and then is also really important.
Steve Clarke admits Scotland aren't short of problems ahead of their Crunch Nations League clash against Ukraine tomorrow night. Defenders Nathan Patterson, Kieran Tierney, and Scott McKenna are missing with injuries, while Scott McTominay is suspended for a game they need to at least draw if they're to win. Clark says he's got a few selection headaches, with some players also being affected by a sickness bug.
Got some kind of virus in the camp, just sickness. So Lyndon Dykes, Shea Adams didn't train this morning, didn't feel very well, but they'll be on the plane. So we've got that to worry about as well. So we're not short of issues, and we're also not short of determination to go there and finish the job.
England Rugby Union boss Eddie Jones has handed first call-ups to Northampton's Alex Coles and Saracens' Hugh Tizard. The pair are included in a 36-player training squad ahead of the upcoming autumn internationals. Manu Tuilagi and Sam Simmons are back in the group after recovering from injuries. England host Japan, New Zealand and South Africa at Twickenham next month. And that's the sport news. Next tonight, police drop investigation over J.K. Rowling death threat, and we hear from Suede frontman Brett Anderson. Claire Gregory has today's showbiz news.
An investigation into a death threat made to J.K. Rowling over her support of Salman Rushdie has been dropped. Police Scotland say they're not taking any further action because the message was not posted within the UK. After the author tweeted following the attack on Rushdie, someone replied, "Don't worry, you are next." The message was later removed. Tess Daly says Strictly Come Dancing has evolved and changed for the better. The show returned this weekend for its 20th series. Tess, who hosts along with Claudia Winkleman, says the success of